Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Amit, and in this lecture we are going to learn about web service. What web service is and how web service is going to help us in the integration. In our previous lecture, we learned about APIs, what APIs are and how they are going to help. In next 10 minutes, we are going to talk about what web service is, what are the type of web service, and what is the difference between those two, and how these two types of web services are going to help us. So let's talk about web service. Web service is the actual implementation of our API. We discussed that API is a URL which we can invoke to get or to send the data to a machine or to a platform. But how that can be done? There comes the role of web services, where with the help of web service we can hit that URL, we can send the required authentication scheme, we can send the required input to the system, and then we can get the data in a success form or in an error form, or with the description if there is any error. Like API, web service is also used to exchange the information between two or more bodies. Like API is a URL, web service has its set of web standards, set of protocols which is used to communicate between two or more devices and exchange the data between them. And like API, web service is also an interface not for humans but for machines to communicate between them, or to establish a communication for exchanging the information two or more bodies. Now let's talk about type of web services. There are two type of web services: SOAP, which is simple object access protocol, and second one is RESTful, representational state transfer. In the early stage we have only one API, that was SOAP, and that is why we say that SOAP API was traditional and most complex type. And why it is most complex type? Because the communication rules, the communication format, or we can also say that the object formats are all are defined on XML based WSDL file, web service description language file. So whenever we will be working in SOAP, we have to work on XML, and if a developer is not familiar with XML, that makes the complex, that increase the complexity of that web service. And later on, RESTful web services came that are recent, and these are very simpler type. And why these are very simpler type? Because the object structure that defines, or the set of rules that RESTful web services uses for the communication, that can be JSON, that can be XML, that can be a text format or any other format. And RESTful web services uses existing HTTP protocols. As SOAP is a protocol and RESTful is a platform itself, RESTful can use SOAP API inside them. That is why RESTful, one of the communication rule can be defined in XML format in case of RESTful APIs as well. So this was a very basic introduction about what web service is, how web service is going to help us, and what are the different type of web services and the difference between these two. In the coming lectures, we are going to work on SOAP API as well. We are going to create our own SOAP API to expose the Salesforce database, and we are also going to work on internal Salesforce API, that is metadata API, which is completely based out of XML, that we can say SOAP API. And we are also going to work on RESTful services. Most of our API are based on RESTful, so we will be more working on RESTful services. So this is it for this lecture. See you on the next lecture. Thank you.